Now, this is part 2 to the same video. Yeah, you can set the size. It's quite good. Now, if you're setting the size of a door, so let's just say, just do a square, that's any size now. I'll go set size. There is a link XY. Now, you may want to use that in some situations, but generally, if you're making doors or carcass, you want to change one dimension without affecting the other. So, look, I'm just going to put 0 in there. It'll then link it. The whole thing goes. But I might not want that. You know, I could have a 595. Let's say 596 and 715. See, link XY 596. Right. So as you've seen with link XY on, when I changed one, the other changed in the magnitude of the same percentage change of the other one. So I might just want to change the width of that door. So and then leave the height alone. So I will untick link XY and I'll just change that to 596. And you can see that's done its job there. Size. Oh yeah, we got rotate. That's fairly straightforward. You can select something and you can put in an angle that you might want to rotate it at. Don't normally use that, but however, if you want to manually change a nest, you don't normally need to change some parts around after you nest them because the nesting engine is pretty good. But there is times you do. Instead of actually going into rotate, you can highlight what you want to rotate and just press 0. And that will rotate it by a magnitude of 45 degrees. Handy. Mirror. Well, I will draw. I'll draw a funny shape. I'll just do this. Right. For whatever reason, I want to cut this shape out, but I have it the wrong way around. So I can mirror horizontally. I can mirror vertically. If I want to mirror it about a line, I select the line and I can flip it around there. It's quite good. And I can also just use these ones to change it around too. Quite good, quite useful. You will use that from time to time. Distort, don't normally use that. Align selected objects, yes, that's not normally used, but if you do draw some doors, for example, and you move the outside without moving the inside, let's just say, for example, I want to have this centered. I will select both of them, I'll go into align, and I generally want to centrally align them, so I'll press this one here. Where'd that go? No, it's in the sheet. Oh, there you go. Yeah. And the other ones don't normally use, but they're there. The help file can help you figure out what they're all for. So close that. Edit objects. Let's select. Don't normally use that. Node editing, not normally. Transform, no. Group, no. You don't normally use that. Ungroup, not normally. Measure, that's commonly used. I might want to measure the distance from here to here, and I can click it on like that. I can go to distance in X is that, distance in Y is that. It's because I actually went up a little bit. It has the total distance as well, so if I actually do literally want to measure across an angle or something, I can use that too. And it'll also tell you the angle as well. It's quite handy. You can weld vectors together. Don't normally use that. Subtract, don't normally. Overlap, no. Trim, not so much, but we would use interactive trim. So let's just say, for example, I want to get rid of the two little pieces hanging out. I'll go into interactive trim. It'll give me a little scissors icon, and you can see the scissors opens when it's like, yes, I can trim this. So I just want to trim off that. And then I'm left with the shape that I want. You will find sometimes you might be doing some funny shape. I actually use VCarve to draw angled walls that have a bit of a curve on the top where the angled roof meets the actual ceiling, we'll call it. And I do construction lines, we'll say. So this is rough now. I'll go up here to there, and then I'll go up at some angle. I'll get rid of that, and then I will go back here. I know that my roof line is along here, and then what I'll do is, I can trim this. I can then add a little arc in here just to get my curve. That's one way that I would use it. Cool, just get rid of that. And here, vector validator, don't normally use that. A fillet, that's handy. For example, you might want to do doors and stick a fillet in every corner. So I'll just draw a big square. I'll go into fillet, 40 mil radius, for example, yeah. Once you see the little tick show up, you can put the fillet on it. Maybe I want to put a 2 mil radius, so I'll go in here. There's my 2 mil radius. Dog bone, you may use that if you're slotting pieces together. We haven't normally used it now. That's kind of a specialist thing. Get rid of that now. Extend, don't normally use. Curve fit, no. Boundary, no. Open picture editor, no. Crop bitmap, no. A bitmap is it comes from a photo that you bring in. I don't really need to get into that. It's out of the scope of this. Join vectors, yeah, that's a good one. If I have 2 lines, no, I don't know whether this will work for me. Yes, okay, so they're not physically joined, right? If I'm doing, and if this is for the scope of another video, but if I want to cut out around this, the profile toolpath will only work with closed vectors. A vector being a drawing, and closed meaning that these are physically joined. So when I select anywhere here, the whole square will light up. So what I do is I select everything that I want to have joined, go into join vectors and press join. And now when I select it, it's one closed vector. My profile toolpath will now go onto that. And join close, no. Join close, no. Don't normally use them. Okay. Offset. This is a very, very widely used one. So I make a couple of doors. I'll draw the outside of the doors, right? And let's say I want to do some doors that have 80 mil rails. I will then offset the vectors inwards. I'll set the distance to 80, press enter, and there's my squares on the inside. And it'll make them if they fit in. With the likes of this one here then, you know, that wouldn't have worked. Maybe I need to do 60. No, 860. Let's do 60. Yeah, now you can see that. Now obviously I need to go in here and I might want to match the top rails. So set sizes from the middle, the height, I need to actually take 40 mil off it now. And now that has 80 mil rails on the top but 60 on the side. For whatever reason you might want to do that. Array copy. Now that's handy if you want to do a vgroove sheet, for example. So what I will do is I'll select the object that I want to move across. So select the object size, rows. I want to do columns, yes. So I want to do 30 columns. Just for example, I want to do 30 columns. And this is this line is 80 mil from the side. So let's say I want to do 80 mil spacing in my vgrooves. I'll just put that in there and press copy. And there you go. That goes across. What I can do is I can just highlight the ones I don't want, maybe. And there you go. I got some space lines at 80 mil. It'd be perfect for doing a vgroove sheet. Circular copy, that's the same thing, but you just copy stuff around the circular. We don't use that. Copy long vectors, no. Plate production, no. Nesting, yes, nesting is used quite a lot. So you have your various size shapes that you want to stick onto sheets. If I press Control and A, it'll select them all for me. Go into nesting. Now, this is, yeah, I'll go into a bit of detail with this. So you need to put in your tool diameter that cuts out. A D here, tool diameter, that's 10 in our case at the moment, and a clearance between the sheets. That can be set to 0, but we do always leave it at 1 mil just to make sure that we're cutting correctly for reasons I'll talk about later. So that means there'll actually be 11 millimeters between all the parts after they're nested. We'll always set border gap to 0. That's the space between, well, this is, how do I say? 0 is what you would, how do I put this? So I set this to 0. Ideally, you would think that the sides of the parts will be like flush with the end of the sheets, right? In reality, that's not actually true. Even though I set that to 0, it actually won't put the parts any closer than maybe, I think, 6 or 7 mil from the edge of the sheet. So always set that to 0, just to maximize what you can fit on the sheet. Now, part nesting options, rotate parts to best to fit. So let's just say these are doors, they're being cut out of MDF, there's no grain. I will allow them to rotate by 90 degrees when it's nesting, right? If it's carcass, if it's grained, we don't want it to rotate, we want to keep the grain. So what you can do is you can turn it off, and that means they nest as they're drawn, so I can draw assuming the grain is going this way. But you might